Hello everybody, welcome back to the Nerdpocalypse. This is Pi sitting here bringing you guys a review of Dark Souls 2. Now, as you probably noticed, I am the only member of the cast here right now. Well, it's summertime, which means for about 3 weeks it's just going to be me, so mostly going to be bringing you guys game reviews. I might be doing a few Let's Plays. We're just going to kind of have some fun for 2-3 weeks, see where it goes. I've been getting a lot more likes on the page, so we're having some fun with that. Today I'm going to be bringing you guys Dark Souls 2, a franchise I am a great fan of. I played Dark Souls 1 and Demon Souls. I also played the spiritual predecessors, which is the Kingsfield series. I've had a lot of fun with it. I love it. It's a great series. And this is the PC port, which thankfully is not the abomination that Dark Souls 1 was. I remember having to use DS Fix to just get anything to work on Dark Souls 1. I've had no such problems on Dark Souls 2. I will say it is better to have a game controller if you want to play Dark Souls 2. I just feel that it is tighter, it's easier to play. You can play with a keyboard and mouse. Personally, that is not my preference. Obviously, I say you should try out both, see which one works for you. But yet again, that's personal preference. First, we're going to go look in the settings. Really nothing impressive. I mean, the resolution goes to 1920 by 1080. You do have your very basic low, medium, high motion blur, which I always have off. I hate motion blur, it drives me nuts. I don't know why games do it. Nothing too impressive, but if most things are there if you need them, just nothing groundbreaking. One thing I am impressed with is that you can use the mouse in the actual game itself, in the actual menus. Not only in this opening menu, but you can also use it in the inventory management menu, which just makes me happy. Because if you're going to have a mouse, you should allow players to use it. I don't know why more companies don't do that. Ooh, excuse me, I'm yawning. I don't know why more developers don't do that, but it's there, it makes me happy. So we're going to go to the game. I am soul level 139. I have about 24 and a half hours into the game. I'm chilling at the Shrine of Amana. So we're going to get into the game, we're going to have a bit of fun. Now I hate to say this, but because Fraps kills my frame rate, it does kick me offline, so I am unable to play online while playing Dark Souls 2. I would love to show you guys some online components, but the game really doesn't allow me to. I will explain them when I get to that section. So here we are, we're chilling at the Shrine of Amana, just kind of relaxing, having fun. I'm wearing Havel's set. So those of you who can remember from Dark Souls 1, I'm carrying Havel's Great Shield. Oh, there's a player back there. He's chilling around. He's dual wielding, which is actually useful in this game. You can finally do it. I'm also carrying the Great Sword, plus 10. The Havel's Great Shield, I have that sucker sitting at plus 3 or plus 4. You're probably going to see in a second. It's probably going to kick me offline because this is not Dark Souls 2's fault. There is no problem. This game runs buttery smooth, but Fraps kills your frame rate while playing this. Some tech junkie could explain it far better than I can, but it kills the frame rate. You're unable to play online while running Fraps. Some people may be able to. I am unable to. That's why probably right now you're staring at this jittery mess. It does not look this bad. Please do not make any indication of me trying to run Fraps while playing this game as an indicator of how this game actually runs. It runs fine. It's a great game. So the first thing I want to talk about, which is one thing that I feel a lot of people are worried about, is Dark Souls 2 difficult? Because there was that huge mess over the developers stating that Dark Souls 2 would be more accessible to the general players. It is not easier. Now, I feel that it is more fair, because I feel there are less moments in Dark Souls 2 where you're just sitting there going, bullshit, I shouldn't have died in that situation. There are less of that moments, which makes me happy. I hated those moments in Dark Souls, in Demon Souls. Those moments where you're just sitting there like, bullshit, that should not have killed me. There are far less of those moments. That makes me very happy. The enemy's hitboxes seem to work more effectively. Your own hitboxes seem to work much more effectively in single player. In multiplayer, the netcode is still crap, so I'll talk about that a little later. That's just ugh. But there are also ways to increase the difficulty. You can use a bonfire aesthetic, which will effectively put an area into New Game Plus. You can also join a covenant that allows you to disallow summoning and invasions at the cost of making the game more difficult. So if you're looking for a tough single-player experience, there's that sitting there for you too. In the same way, there are for players who want to play online, there are also ways for them to do that. Yet again, ignore the crappy frame rate. That is Fraps. That is not Dark Souls 2. And it goes back to normal. I don't know why it does that. But so do not ever. So if you're looking for a single player, where in the hell was I? I was talking about the difficulty of this game. I just had a major brain fart. I don't know where I was going. So basically, yes, difficulty in Dark Souls is still there. So do not worry if you're looking for a good, tough gaming experience. Guess what? You still got it. It's still the same Dark Souls we know and love. The next thing I want to talk about is kind of the story and the lore. Now, I'm not going to go into any of it, because for those of you who have played Dark Souls and Demon Souls, the story and the lore of these games is not told directly to the player. You have to figure it out through things that are said by NPCs, things that are written in item descriptions, and from looking at the environment around you. The best way I like to put it is that at the end of the day, Dark Souls is not so much a story, it's not something you listen to so much as it is something you experience. I very much so feel that when you look into Dark Souls, you shouldn't read anything about the enemies, about the plot, anything beforehand. Because I feel that playing these games is an experience. It's looking at the environment around you, listening to what the other characters say, and figuring it out as you go along. That's why, guess what, I really do not want to explain anything about the plot, about the background lore of this game. Because I feel there are things you should figure out as you play the games, and things that you should experience as a player. So let's go on into the kind of the game mechanics. Game mechanics have not changed. You still have the D-pad for controlling which weapon you're using, changing items. You still have regular attacks, heavy attacks. For shields, you have the block. For a great shield, like the Great Shield of Havel that I'm using right now, you have a bash. And then for a smaller, lighter shield, you have parries. That hasn't changed currently at any point, so if you're kind of game mechanics, guess what? If you play Dark Souls and Demon Souls, nothing has changed in any real amount that you're going to be missing anything. You do have bows, you still have access to magic in the form of miracles, sorcery, and a new form called hexes, which scale off of your intelligence and faith, but based off of whichever's lower. So you have to have a very balanced build to use hexes, but at the moment they are incredibly powerful, and especially in PvP, they're very nasty. So that leads into a very important point. How are the covenants? Well, there are even more covenants this time around. You do still have your Sun Bros, Heirs of the Sun, which I am currently playing. That little SOB shot me. But you still have the Heirs of the Sun. You do still have the Red Invaders. You do have the Bellkeepers, which is a unique PvP area that is actually optional, because some players might never even find it. It's in another region of the game. You have the Rat Lords followers, and you also have a very interesting one for new players, which I've actually yet to see anyone use, which is the Way of Blue. Now, I feel Way of Blue is kind of dumb in the way that from all the Blue Sentinels I've talked to, no one actually, getting summoned as a Blue Sentinel is apparently an ever-loving nightmare, because too many conditions are required for a Blue Sentinel to be summoned. You have to be wearing your Covenant ring, the Way of Blue member has to be wearing their Covenant ring, they have to get invaded, they have to be in a certain level, soul memory range, they have to be in a certain area. Too many conditions need to be perfect to be summoned by a Way of the Blue member, which is just a real problem. Hopefully that'll get fixed. I don't think so, because just that's the way that Covenant works. So there's really not a lot you can do about it. Other than that, the other Covenants do work fine. Heirs of the Sun, you're going to get summoned a lot. For the Invaders, I have not personally been doing any invading, so I can't tell you all I can say about invading. It doesn't feel any different. It definitely feels as though invading is definitely on the side of the good guys, so to speak, right now. I mean, you can have up to 2, if you're way of the blue, you can have 2 blue sentinels, you can summon 2 phantoms, so same as before, invaders, you're the one playing on the, you're playing for the losing team effectively, because guess what, the other guy's got more help on his side. But if that's your thing, hey, that's your thing, you're gonna have fun with it. So, I mean, really, the PvP mechanics, they really haven't changed that much. PvE also has not changed that much, which I was quite happy about. I had a lot of fun between those. There's really, I mean, there's just not a lot to say about PvP and PvE, because you'll figure it out as you go into the game. And they're really, while they are important to the game, they're not integral parts of the game. I mean, seen by the one covenant that basically disallows player interactions. So, I mean, yeah, and they're just not that integral. One thing I do have to say is that end of the day, oh god, I'm gonna die here. The PvP still has major problems when it comes to netcode. If you're expecting good PvP, I'm sorry to say the netcode still sucks. It is still a lag fest. Oh my god. Which is just a major problem. It's been a lag fest since Dark Souls 1. I have not heard anything from Software if they're gonna fix it or make it any better. I don't know. I personally avoid PvP because at the end of the day, the netcode just sucks. So I don't generally feel like wasting my time with PvP. PvE generally works. There are times when the netcode gets a little, you'll have boss fights kind of twitch out on you. But for the most part, I haven't had any real problems with PvE. PvP, yeah, just still loads of problems. But what I really want to end this on is that Dark Souls is something I don't really feel you should learn about before you play. Like, yes, I'm sitting here talking and telling you about some stuff, but there are things I feel you just don't need to know. Like, I haven't exposed any of the actual world. All I've shown you is this small section of the Shrine of Amana. And I feel that's really as much as you should see, because I feel that Dark Souls 2 is an experience. It's something you as a player need to experience. Don't read anything about the game ahead of time. Yeah, your first character is not going to be the most powerful, the most optimized, but I feel you lose a good section of the experience that is Dark Souls if you go out ahead of time and go look at stuff, because then it kind of ruins the sense of wonder that comes from figuring this world out. Because I mean, you're not told what's going on in this world. You got to figure it out. You got to go look at it, and that's kind of a sense of wonderment that I feel is very integral to Dark Souls 2. So definitely, this is Nerdpocalypse Pi is putting his seal of approval on this game. Go out, give it a shot. It's a great game. But don't look up anything before you play it, because you lose that sense of exploration, that sense of just kind of figuring out what's going on in the world around you. Oh, hey, another player. Oh, neat. You don't have to see someone wandering around. But you just kind of lose that sense of, what the? He appeared again. Get away, dude. But yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to tell you guys. Explore Dark Souls 2. Try the game out. I definitely do say, put my seal of approval and say you guys need to check this game out. But I'm not going to tell you any more about, I'm not going to tell you more about the lore, because I just feel I'll ruin it for you. Because you're going to lose those neat moments of walking into an area and just going, whoa. Or looking at someone and reading an item description and then kind of figuring something out in your head, and you just kind of having that moment of, holy crap, that just happened. And wow, that means that. That's really integral playing Dark Souls 2. Hope you guys had a lot of fun listening. I hope you guys give this game the shot it deserves. And it's summertime fun. Guys, go outside, go have fun. This is the Nerdpocalypse. Pi is signing off.